opportune time, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
time is a weird thing nowadays. I feel like everything is like in this weird bubble where we're just like 2020 to 2024 is just like non-existent. Anyway, we spoke about a lot of the conferences going on in Africa, specifically this one that's going on in Sudan. It was kind of popping off at that point. And not as somebody who was intimately connected with a lot of people on the ground there. And I think she has just a sense of beyond the sort of geopolitical talking points you'll see on like a BBC headline, kind of gets down to a little bit more of like the human emotion and empathy and the things that we need to kind of bring to the surface behind these conflicts. So I thought it would be a good idea to bring her back on and just have another sort of discussion. Unfortunately, a lot of these conflicts are still going on, and I think maybe you could speak to that a little bit better than I can. But how have you been before we get too deep into the craziness and what's been going on in terms of what you're working on and stuff that you've been into?
Yeah, well, since we last spoke, I had this fundraiser ongoing. I have a fundraiser right now for a school in Sudan, that I'm working on, and I feel like that's going to be like a lifelong mission, even though things are difficult
What
there
is this
right
called?
now.
The fundraiser?
It's the
It's
Sudan Nuba School Foundation.
okay.
And with all the knowledge that we have and we bear and like the resources that we have, I really feel like it's important to really focus on the children and the generations that are going to be coming after us. I
Yeah.
think, with the situation right now, it has been a bit difficult because in Sudan at the moment there's a blackout in communication. So there's no communication coming out of the country at the moment.
Mm.
But the fundraiser is going to be an ongoing, lifelong thing, I feel, for me. And I'm really happy. I'm working with some really amazing people. I also have like a sub part of the fundraiser where initially when I started the fundraiser, it was to support the Nubian communities in that area. And we're trying to find more sustainable ways for people to have a a more sustainable way of living, that they don't need to rely on the system to provide, just the basic necessities, get back that independence that these people once had. So I'm really excited, and I'm not going to speak on it too much, but like I'm just trying to like solidify these collaborations that I'm trying to
Yeah, yeah,
form.
yeah.
And
Never
yeah,
gonna know your
it's
next move, but I see you. This is beautiful stuff. I'm definitely interested to see where it goes. Um,
yeah.
yeah, the kids of the future, isn't it? And I feel like in the fastest growing continent on the planet in terms of human resources, I think it makes sense to start building out some infrastructures there that can help bring those minds, bring those people into this next iteration of whatever society looks like and prepare them for that. So speaking of just society in general, it's been still a lot of destabilization on the continent. Obviously, you're more intimately, I think, acquainted with stuff that's going on in Sudan, but with Rwanda, with Egypt and Ethiopia, with the Congo, you still got a lot of conflicts that are going on. And I just wanted to maybe speak to or ask you what was your sense of maybe the timeline of these things and maybe like a general overview of just your understanding of what's going on so that the people back home can kind of start to grasp why these things are happening and maybe gain a little bit of empathy too for the situation.
Yeah, well, you know how we connected. I'm always kind of seeing things through like a spiritual lens, and something about the motherland, something about that continent is really resonating with all of us as a collective, whether you are African or not. That
Yeah.
land and that space holds a lot of memories and energy that is stored within it. And one thing, when I was like going through my spiritual journey, and then I started looking into like being Sudanese, being Nubian, all the conflicts that have happened there and all of the kind of just, I guess, whitewashing of our history and things of that nature. And then
Yeah.
understanding what is happening now, you see, like in particular with Congo and it being, the heart and the root of Africa and all of our civilizations, it is really crazy what is happening there, because in some ways it's like we're really destroying the earth by one, the minerals that are being taken and exploited, and the people and the children that are working in these mines, and how even the history of Congo and all of the mass genocide that has happened in that
Yeah.
country.
People don't talk about that enough. I mean, you had a dude that killed 15 million people in the Congo, and we don't like if you put a picture of Leopold II up, most people wouldn't know who that is. This is one of the worst perpetrators of genocide in history, and it's important to think of that. And I like that you're highlighting, like, I like that idea of Sudan almost like it's the heart of our planet, and or the Congo, like middle Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, especially those places where it's really mineral rich, like we're talking on the internet right now, and it's powered by these devices are powered by, unfortunately, kids that are mining cobalt from those mines. You have oil, you have gold, you have all sorts of mineral resources. And you made a good point before we started recording that it's crazy to think about, is that you have corporations that are exporting all of these physical, real resources, and then you almost flip it back to people who are like buying up like NFTs. And like you flood these markets with fake things that people are spending real money on. Meanwhile, you have people that are laboring for the system and aren't even able to get by. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for highlighting that. Maybe you could speak a little bit about why there's that conflict. And I mean, obviously it's kind of difficult to parse everything from, our perspective, but I know that there was like a blackout too that's going on and people can't even really get information. How true is that, and what's been going on with that going?
Yeah, so in Sudan, when the war kind of started in Sudan, it was really obvious to see how strategic it was to displace and just destroy the entire country. The first thing that the RSF, which is they're kind of like a hired military group, and they are in control of a lot of the gold mines in Sudan. So initially, when the war started, it was basically the Sudanese, we were meant to have an election, and then the Sudanese military and the RSF got into a conflict on who's going to take over and who's going to take control. So a lot of unhealthy testosterone going on. And so they are basically a hired military group that have been trying to, not one, just, systemically destroy the country, in terms of they destroyed the airport. So without a country needs to have an airport, they need to
Mm.
have hospitals. There's no hospitals now in Sudan. They've
Wow.
destroyed them all. A lot of the main,
Mm.
you know, uh, buildings in the capital city of Khartoum is destroyed. They've even destroyed the land registry office. They've even destroyed, just like these key things
Yeah.
that are. So when you're looking at the situation in Sudan, it's not as simple as, oh, these two generals, these two people are fighting it out. It's really a case of a way just kind of similar to Congo.
Mm.
But Congo obviously is a separate situation. But in terms of trying to just destroy a people and a nation, and displace and remove people from their homes and from their lands, and then to implement this extraction of minerals, which then these, people speak about like bricks and stuff. But when you really look at the countries that are benefiting from the exploitation of Africa, it's really in these groups or institutions of government. And like it's really, really, really sad. And I think it really is up to the people to actually try and not just work with people who like yourself, who have your own projects that you're trying to do in terms of charitable projects, or people in that situation, but also just travel to the continent and just put our energy there, and put our time and our resources in the communities there, because as a spiritual person, I do believe I'm a custodian of the earth. Above any government, above any system, I have a responsibility in my life path to try and serve the collective. And as an African, and as it's not even just as an African, because we, like I said, we're all very connected to the motherland.
Yeah,
But as an African, I have a duty for that continent and for those people.
wow.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that it's so important to think of these things in parallel with like the things that are happening on, on this physical plane, on the thing that we can see, but then also underneath that, I feel like we look at the symptoms a lot and we forget that there's these root causes. And I feel like the human condition right now is trying to, there's like, it's like this period of rebirth. And you have a lot of the pangs and the pain that come with that. And hopefully we can get to the other side and not have a stillborn, right? We want to give birth to new life. That's something beautiful. And so that's where I think a lot of the fight is right now. Go ahead.
And like my dad is 73, so he's an elder dad, right?
Yeah.
And when I speak to him about the situation in Sudan, like it's so sad. It's like there's not hope anymore, and I feel like it's not that's a lot of the feeling for the collective in on the continent. And but then we're
Mhm.
seeing it from our eyes, and we're like, no, like we're the generation, like we're not going to allow
Yeah.
these things to happen. Like I understand that you might have had to fight, and there wasn't this information overload that we get now in social media, and the connections that we can make over social media. And like I see how like he's in this kind of like despair, like, oh,
Yeah.
don't think things are going to change, like this is how it is. I'm like, no,
That's tough.
this is
I hear you with that too, because I talk to my folks sometimes and they have a similar attitude about like, for example, so I'm Nigerian, a lot of what's going on there is just mismanagement and exploitation at the government level. And they just talk about how, yeah, it's almost like learned helplessness in psychology where people just kind of get to a point where they just are like, oh, it is what it is. And it takes
yeah,
new energy, as you said, it takes that collective deciding that no, it stops here for that to actually change because we don't realize we do have the power to transform conversations, to change what people pay attention to and what they think is important. And, the more that we have talks like this, the more that we keep, whether it's raising money, spending time, doing things on the ground, doing things from where we can, all of that is harvested energy. And if we can direct it to something that is beneficial for all of us, I feel like it's inevitable that we get to a place that is better than we are today. But again, it
yeah,
takes that, as you said, that intentionality, I guess, behind it, because otherwise it can easily dissipate into, unorganized movements and emotions and things that don't actually make a real change. And so I think that right now we're in this almost like organizing period and trying to like suss out who's who, see who we're going to build with, how we're going to build, what's the sort of MO, what's the thing that we're going to build towards. So
yeah,
again, that's part of why I was attracted to speaking with you is because you just strike me as somebody who continues to like I don't look for people who are um and this is no it isn't supposed to be a knock, but people who have the aesthetics down pat and know exactly how everything's supposed to be and they like everything is perfectly branded. Like I know that there is an element of marketing we need in this day and age, but to me, you just strike me as somebody who is just transparent, trying to be as real as possible. And I feel like that's what is more needed. Like there is a necessity for the, making things beautiful and so that people can be attracted to it and stuff. But at the ground level, we need those folks that is just being transparent, being real. So that's something that I really respect about what you do. So keep doing that. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to maybe just plug, or I know you got the Sudan Nuba School Foundation, so I'm gonna go ahead and like put like a little bubble in this video somewhere so y'all can check that out. Is there anything else that you would like to plug in terms of socials or places people can go to help, find more information, whatever it is?
Yeah, so my Instagram is daughter of the Nile underscore, and like you said, it's not really like it, like this journey has been a very personal journey, and I've always been like taught like each one teach one. So the way I've kind of approached my social media is like things that I learn, I just kind of like
Yeah,
put it on there.
I love it.
and yeah, like you know, it's information. It might float your boat, it might not, but you know, I also have my YouTube channel, which is also the same at daughter of the Nile underscore, or it might be easier to search me Nuba Nada, and there I'm kind of sharing my personal journey and like reconnecting with my family and my journey in terms of just fundraiser and kind of sharing that information on a spiritual lens as well and what's happening geopolitically, because I do feel like it's all connected. And even when we think about like climate change and how the world is shifting and things are happening, I know that we have this collective consciousness, and especially over these past few years, it's been like an intense ride, a really, really, really
Yeah,
intense ride.
yeah,
If you've had it smooth sailing, then there's something
yeah.
wrong. You've been living under
I
a
don't know
rock.
where you've been, but
Yeah.
yeah. Man, well, once again, I'll go ahead and link all that. We'll probably throw it in the show notes as well, so y'all can find. Nada, thank you once again for joining me today. And God bless you. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, stop defending. We here on offense now. Sort of spirit mixed with lyrics till all knees go bow. Some will hear it, others fear it if it ain't they style. I just know I gotta spit it to that horn blast sound. Yeah, not a mistake, but like a lay. This is the passion of Jesus. Maybe I'm fake, let them debate. I'll just keep rising like Phoenix. In the end times, felt like these rhymes may be the way to your soul. Don't care about M's, not big on friends, just need my people to know.